Halo rekan-rekan sekalian, hari ini kita memasuki Founders Diary episode ke-23, di mana kita akan melakukan deep dive interview dengan dua co-founders dari Sonic Boom untuk hari ini. Bagi teman-teman yang baru mengikuti Founders Diary, saya Arya Sadama akan memandu Founders Diary ini bersama kembaran saya, Ardi Setiadama. Kami di sini hadir untuk memberikan inspirasi dan sebagai forum diskusi yang setiap minggunya membahas tentang isu seputar entrepreneurship, terutama di startup industry antara penggiat entrepreneurship community di Asia Tenggara. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the two guests, amazing speakers. The first one is Adrian Sugandi and the second one is Valentinus Buntaran. Welcome.
Halo
guys.
Semuanya.
So mereka ini adalah co-founders dari Sonic Boom. A little bit about Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom adalah Human Mobility Data Expert. Sonic Boom menyediakan dan menganalisis mobilitas pengunjung untuk retail dan mobilitas pekerja untuk pengusaha. Dengan menggunakan data ini, Sonic Boom memberikan wawasan dan memahami perilaku pengunjung retail dan meningkatkan produktivitas pekerja. So, welcome Adrian, welcome Valentinus. Can you just introduce yourself a little bit? Boleh pakai bahasa Indo, boleh pakai bahasa Inggris. And yeah, just a little bit about yourself. What you do before Sonic Boom?
Inggris apa Indo?
Bebas.
Bebas, oke.
Campur-campur boleh.
Oke, dia mati. Oke, kalau
Boom.
gitu. Oh, there you go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my name is Adrian, CEO co-founder Sonic Boom. Ada my partner here, Valentinus. We are two of us. Kita co-founding Sonic Boom since 2018, sorry. And then me and Valentinus has been working together since 2012 di Indo. And then we've been friends since 2007. Kemudian what we have been doing before Sonic Boom is me and Valentinus founding a software consultant company before Sonic Boom. And then before that, I was in the States. Waktu ketemu Valen, I was in the States. I was working. I was having college, lulus college di situ. I got a bachelor, master's di computer science and master's in financial engineering. And I work as a engineer in Broadcom, which is a semiconductor company, for about 7 years as a principal engineer, and then I moved back, and then I started companies with Valen. And sebelumnya juga I also have a cafeteria juga with Valen. So it's been a while. Go ahead.
Okay, for myself, dulu di Seattle ya. Abis itu kita pindah untuk kerja di Disney, one of Disney division di gaming basically. Terus ketemu Adrian, and then it basically start from there. We met there, we hang out over there, and then waktu balik ke Indo ketemuan lagi ya, start the software company together. That's basically it.
Ketemunya di kota apa?
Irvine,
LA,
Orange County.
Oh, oke. Untung jawabannya sama ya.
Ketahuan bohong.
Udah latihan.
Jadi ketemunya pas udah kerja ya?
Ketemunya udah kerja, ya. So
kayak si Adrian waktu itu ngambil master ya?
Yeah, I was in my master. Sambil kerja kan, I was in my master and working. Valen is full time working, basically full time, dia nggak pernah tidur intinya. So basically I come to his house anytime I want, termasuk subuh, to play games.
Who came back to?
Let me turn on the light. The backlight is really annoying.
Yeah. Who came back to Indonesia first?
Valen dulu.
Much better.
Yeah, Valen came back first. I think 2010. When did you come back?
2012. 12, I think. 11. No, 12.
Kan lu ke Singapura dulu.
Right. 12 to 13 gitu.
Okay.
Kalau itu kita yang awal.
I was first then. I came back in 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terus what made you become founders in the first place? Is it like part of your goal in life?
Well, not for me. Siapa dulu? Tirus dulu or me? For me, a founder is something quite obvious to deal with, karena when I was in the States, I've been working for corporate since 2005. I've been working for corporate 2005 ya, and then sampai 2011. So that's about 6 year-ish. And before that, I had an internship juga. So in a corporate ladder, there are things yang memang that I found it not suitable for me. That's for me karena there is a lot of bureaucracy. Basically, it's a corporate, it's a very large corporation waktu itu, and the bureaucracy is quite annoying. And for me, sampai at the end of the day, on the decision making part, whatever that, even though it's a good move to make, there are so many things yang di turn down just because of a political reason, bureaucracy reason, yang kita nggak pernah bisa tahu as a lower level. Even though I was sampai when I was in junior, mungkin okay, but when I was in a principal, in the senior and principal position, itu pun juga it's not transparent. So at the end of the day, there are a lot of ideas yang we as a team we built together, and finally it get turned down for no apparent reason sih. That makes me kayak okay lah, I had it lah. I think I wanna mengadu nasib in Indonesia. Kebetulan dipanggil juga, and then I try to mengadu nasib di Indonesia and try as a founder. That's since then that I've been a founder juga sih dari situ.
For me, it's simple. Like I'm basically like a gamer at heart. I don't play games anymore. I'm still call myself a gamer. But anyways, waktu balik pertama kali, there's not too many gaming companies back then in Indonesia ya. And itu 2013 I guess. Jadi waktu ketemu Adrian pertama kali ya, we actually when we actually make the software house, we actually talk about like how we actually getting project from people. And sama waktu itu juga ada beberapa gaming project sendiri, apakah itu diambil dari orang ataupun emang project gaming kita sendiri. Karena kan my experience itu emang banyaknya di bagian gaming waktu itu. Jadi ada beberapa I learned how to create gaming from scratch di Disney juga, di Lucasfilm juga, and ya intinya bawa ilmu itu ke Indonesia and try it here. That's pretty much it basically.
I see. But in the beginning, waktu dulu kan sebelum Sonic Boom itu bikin software company ya.
Right.
What was the thought process when you met and then terus mau decide okay mau mulai nih software company gitu.
Right. Oh, thought processnya simple. When we came back, I kind of lost contact Valen, Tinus. I call him Tinus most of the time, tapi people call him Valen. I lost contact with Tinus after kita came back for good. I think I came back first 2011, so we kind of lost contact. Nggak ketemu for about a year. When I came back, I'm trying to make something to do. I strive to be a founder, so I make something to do sampai I consult a furniture company with my wife. Kayak I make a lot of kayak ya pokoknya coba usaha sendiri lah at the end of the day. But then all these skills that I had waktu di States sayang nggak kepake. So but then I want to use it, but I don't know how. And I kind of try to do it alone, masih belum ketemu. So it was my first and a half years in Indonesia. I'm searching around. So and then for apparent reason I met Tinus at the mall for at random, benar-benar random. Like, why are you here? And then since then we exchange numbers and then we start hanging out, ngobrol, and then we have the same perspective in how technology can be applied. Some of the technology can be applied di sini karena waktu itu back in 2012 masih very ya belum ada lah, zaman kita masih BlackBerry.
Bisa dibilang early lah, karena di Indonesia waktu itu BlackBerry baru masih BlackBerry ya zaman itu.
BlackBerry. It was still in the BlackBerry era. So and then desktop is still prominent waktu di situ, and so we kind of see there's if we can apply a lot of the things that we do on a corporate di sini, at least in a simplest form, I think we might have a shot. So that's how we started. So and then we just talk and then yaudahlah yuk nekat, kayak gitu.
Yeah, for me it was a big thing actually ketemu Adrian juga. It's karena pada waktu itu like, I was thinking about making my own gaming company juga. Cuman as everyone might know already, like it's not as easy to create to be a big gaming company, right? So like while actually creating everything from scratch, kita juga harus tetap ngambil proyek dari orang dan sebagainya. Jadi emang itu ya ya klik juga lah ya ketemu dia lagi di sini waktu itu juga.
Tapi masih inget nggak momennya di mana kalian itu lagi ngobrol-ngobrol terus kayak your aha moment, hey let's do this together gitu?
Oh, nggak ada.
Kayaknya nggak ada sih, itu basically benar-benar kita lagi apa? Kita hangout ya.
Bukan
Get
hangout,
coffee together, ngobrol.
Kita mulai dari coffee shop. Basically, before the software company in between, kita buka boba shop together sebelumnya. Which is karena kita memang mau, ya nggak tahu mau ngapain, just wanna make our own. Jadi kita buka boba shop. Ya waktu di boba shop itu ya ngapain daripada kita buka boba, ya karena sering ketemu, sering ngurusin that cafe, ya akhirnya bilang ngapain kita kayak gini, kita fokus di software juga, let's do it. Kayak nggak ada aha momennya sih actually. It's a work in progress kind of thing gitu loh. Karena he's been complaining about there's no quality games, and I've been complaining that how manual labor is gitu loh in Indonesia. So like ya cobalah gitu loh. So there's no particular aha moment sih buat kita.
Yeah.
Jadi lebih karena sering ngobrol, terus jadi udah like best friends, and somehow it makes sense untuk solve this problem gitu ya.
Right.
And background kita juga sama-sama tech, jadinya ya let's start a tech company together basically.
Ya. Karena kan banyak kan mungkin yang co-founder yang mungkin udah ada ide dulu, terus mereka baru kayak searching around for the co-founder gitu. Because
I think at that point Adrian had some projects already, atau one or two projects. So we were like, okay, let's just start something and then do like our own project on the side. Kebetulan aja Sonic Boom-nya is one of our children basically.
Oke, jadi sebenarnya Sonic Boom ini juga is like kayak the child of the software companies gitu.
Initially yes. Jadi emang kita ini sebagai side project aja, kita kan selalu ngambil proyek orang dan ada side project sendiri, apakah itu gaming dan sebagainya. Kebetulan aja ini ketemu yang ini. Jadi ya kayak I stumble into this sound technology, and then ya since kita masih ngerjain proyek orang juga ya kita just do this on the side. Kalau sempat kerjain, kalau nggak dikerjain. Right. At some point ya it became serious I guess, and then we just decided to focus on it.
Turning point-nya di mana nih? Maksudnya kan kalau software companies kan just like any other software companies, it's like more project based and online ya. Sedangkan kalau doing the Sonic Boom focus on one technology, and then solutionnya itu lebih ke arah growing value for the product, but also for the customer juga, karena it's a long term relationship with the customer kan ya. Itu kapan ada nggak tuh ada kayak turning point-nya nggak di mana you guys decide let's focus on this gitu?
There's a few. Yang pertama we were not only two of us awalnya. We were four of us waktu di software company. So then when we realized that not co-founders itu nggak nyari co-founders ya gampang-gampang susah, nggak bisa cocok dengan semua orang. So we had problems not because of we kayak bertengkar atau apa. It's just a different vision, different vision, different risk appetite-nya beda with the other two. Kemudian the second one memang at that time we took a very aggressive project yang ended up that we are not getting paid for, so that they were in crisis. While kita punya satu produk yang memang and at that point kita kayak kalau it always happens lah, kayak Indonesian payment itu kan selalu it's still happening until today. Orang kalau ditagih bayar juga ya berat ya, kayak nagih itu kan susah gitu loh. So at the end of the way ya inilah kalau kerja sama ngambil projects per projects, which is it's tough. Kayak waktu itu juga it was very aggressive, and it was quite tough juga lah ngambil project. So we decided, karena I think at some point kita nggak bisa capek ya. It's just keep on looking for knocking doors and looking for projects and customizing for someone itu kan quite draining. Apalagi waktu pre-sales prosesnya itu kan very very draining for us. Projectnya juga nggak kecil-kecil amat, ada yang gede juga. So we decided let's why don't we have a product we explore a few. Sonic Boom was not the only one. There are a few ideas yang kita bikin on the side, on the spare time. Karena kita di kantor sering and ngobrol, and then there's a few ideas yang kita bikin on the spare time. Yeah, but then some of them are too early in the stage. Until today masih idea kita yang ada is still way too early. Kita nggak even bisa implement. And Sonic Boom is yang one of the one that that looks promising ya, and going to the future yang bisa yang it penetrates gitu loh. So I think that's the whole story, the story lah. Kayak gitu.
I can imagine you two being like two technical guys, you would have a lot of like kayak ide yang disimpan nih kayak baik banget kayak tadi.
Yeah. List our bucket of list.
Yeah. Ada black book.
Your list of products yang okay, if plan A fails, plan B apa? Plan B.
So kita punya, waktu itu masih belum ada yang namanya Git. We have our own repository system. So we have two repository system. Yang satu buat anak-anak for the kids, for the kalau ada projects yang umum. Satu repository kita untuk project aneh.
Yeah. Okay, next question nih. Why Sonic Boom?
Okay. Go ahead, Nus, kalau mau jawab.
Go ahead. Okay, well, ya basically sih balik lagi ke, kalau from my point of view lah ya, basically balik lagi ke yang tadi, kita ada beberapa children, salah satunya kebetulan project AI dan sebagainya itu, I think like at that point it was too early for Indonesia at least, not for, I think Singapore and other countries already started doing it, but Indonesia was too early. So Sonic Boom was actually pretty, we thought has like so much potential because the first one is pada saat itu kita mulai project I think 2016 to 2015, I couldn't remember.
16.
Okay. Yeah, I think at that point penetration of smartphone itu udah mulai besar di Indonesia. Dulunya yang dulunya BlackBerry semua, sekarang udah mulai beralih ke Android and smartphone, iPhone. Pada saat itu sebenarnya kita sih fokusnya lebih ke yang Android dulu. Jadi the idea of having a way to actually send data by using sound, it's something huge karena everyone has a phone, which means everyone has a speaker or a microphone on their phone. Jadi at that point Android juga masih terbuka lebar, semuanya bebas. Kita merasa if we can actually penetrate or send some kind of data from one person to another yang bisa diterima telepon, it's something that's very useful for a lot of people. Karena at that point juga company untuk ngirim SMS blast itu lumayan mahal ya. Dulu udah ada, di zaman dulu itu udah 200-300 kalau nggak salah. Sekarang mungkin udah lebih mahal lagi dari yang pada saat itu. Jadi ya emang kita merasa saat itu momennya tepat untuk Sonic Boom. Meskipun waktu itu waktu pada kita mulai juga masih belum perfect banget, cuman at that point is good karena kita juga lihat pada saat itu kita juga ngelihat di beberapa company juga belum ada yang sampai advance dengan menggunakan suara juga, sedangkan itu adalah teknologi lama yang dipakai di zaman-zaman modem 56K dan sebagainya seperti itu. Jadi it's perfect timing lah we thought. I don't know about Adrian.
Yeah. For me, I think it's something yang noble and it's something to be pursued. Yeah, and when I take off my when I put on my geek hat, it's very interesting. And then the way I look at it, with the permission apa segala itu kan waktu itu kan very lax at that time. And then it has so much potential. Dan kenapa Sonic Boom ya, I'm annoyed at the end of the day ya, me and Valentinus di kantor tuh very annoyed with the SMS blast itu, annoyed banget. Ini apaan sih tiap hari, waktu itu apa Dunkin Donut ya, tiap hari dikirimin SMS nggak jelas gini, apaan sih gitu loh. Kayak for us is very annoying ya. So that's where the idea came about sih. How can we solve something in the proximity? The whole idea is that gitu sih.
Ya.
Oh, namanya ini dari itu kan, apa, Street Fighter tuh ya?
Oh iya, Street Fighter.
He kan gamer. He's being the creative guy, so he's the one that come up with the crazy idea. So we can.
Yeah, I mean it's sound and
right.
And it's ultrasonic, so might as well, right?
Tapi kalau tadi kan kalian bilang ya, kalau ini sekarang udah more advanced gitu ya, the technology that you build. kalau misalnya waktu dulu angkanya dulu berapa, sekarang berapa gitu. Misalnya, let's say 100% is like what you want to, your target for that technology. When you met us in the beginning waktu dulu, Prasetya dulu, berapa persen tuh from your target dulu?
Waktu di Prasetya tuh udah 85 to 90% of the technology already built. Itu udah itu pretty much quite mature. Udah bagus, udah is very accurate and is very nice. Udahan. The problem is not the sound. Until today, the sound is still working perfectly. Yang the problem is infrastructure di kita kalau di Sony Boom, karena our initial idea is how can we utilize existing infrastructure, karena speakers are everywhere. That's the whole idea. But at the end of the day, speakers everywhere, and everywhere, all the speakers are not working. That's the whole problem intinya di kita. So that's where we kind of shifted to, karena the whole objective for us is sama. Karena with sound, we can always map human mobility. Karena sama, we use echo. We have the technology to use echo to find a bounce orang lewat itu kita ada. We have the technology to do that. But we need a good speaker, at least a working speaker lah to do that gitu loh. Mau pakai echo, mau pakai kayak kelelawar, mau pakai it's like a sound heat mapping itu ada. Itu semua kita udah ada. At the end of the day, the problem is always infrastructure, and then it's impossible for us untuk implement teknologi itu. Kita yang naruhin speaker buat mereka. So daripada naruhin speaker mahal, why not create our own product yang naruhnya murah, and then kita utilize any network. Anyway, it's our property, right? It's IoT is our property. So might as well put anything that we would like gitu loh. So that's the whole idea why the IoT came about. Gitu.
Kalau sekarang IoT-nya itu base-nya apa teknologinya?
Base-nya primarily kita pakai whatever technology yang being refreshed by the phone. Basically Wi-Fi pasti.
He's gone.
Ya.
Yeah, basically Wi-Fi, Bluetooth juga ada. Kita masukin sound untuk beberapa IoT yang beberapa klien minta. Tapi sound itu nggak untuk semuanya. Dan yang saat ini sebenarnya lagi di research itu adalah untuk bukan research sih sebenarnya. Sebenarnya minta izin adalah untuk 4G signal, karena kalau mau pakai 4G ya otomatis harus minta izin dari yang punya, which is Telkomsel ataupun Indosat dan XL.
I see.
Or whatever else. Yeah.
Oke. Mungkin pertanyaan yang teknikal ntar gue tanya lagi di belakang. I will let Ardi continue with the next question. Ardi, please.
Okay. Next question ya. How does it feel to work with your best friend? Honest answer. Let's start with Adrian.
Kadang pengen dicekek, tapi kadang enaknya dia. I know exactly his risk appetite. I know exactly what he will say. I know exactly what he will react gitu loh. So some of the time kalau memang butuh quick decision, kalau dia nggak bisa dicari, I make my own decision, knowing that he's gonna say that gitu loh. At the end of the day, it's about 95% bener. Tapi kalau lagi nggak bener ya, kalau lagi argue, risk appetite kita kan beda, kita punya point of view juga beda. And I know exactly he's gonna say that, tapi ya I try to convince him, and he's try to convince me juga. Ya kontok-kontok kadang-kadang pengen dicekek juga, tapi karena work from home nggak bisa cekek dia tuh biasanya. Aman. Kalau di kantor lumayan aman.
Jadi kalau dari sisi risk appetite, can you elaborate?
Valentinus is very a bit conservative, nggak a bit ya, lumayan konservatif.
Very.
Dia
risk adverse dia.
Dia play safe. And then for me, I'm not a very aggressive one, tapi at least if I see a potential to go in, I'm not hesitant to go for it gitu loh. Within the calculation of risk. But again, I always ask Valen karena I know dari his point of view, he's always going to challenge me. Karena what if this happen, what if this? Karena things yang I cannot see. Nggak ada orang bakal bikin gitu. Kalau gue sih kayak gini, kayak gitu. So, different personality. So at the end of the day, ya kita lay out all the options and start picking yes or no. Akhirnya kalau memang udah deadlock, ya either cari orang ketiga. Hence we have kita punya advisor yang kita bisa cari. Or I sometimes WhatsApp Arya juga. Advisor, I saw my advisor was one of them, Evan is here.
Ada di sini.
Ya sih, sometimes I ask him, usually it's a tiebreaker buat kita. Kalau kita udah deadlock, biasanya tiebreakernya kita nanya gitu. And then kalau nggak kita nanya orang tim kita, basically tim kita ya, again, ya gitu dah. Kita banyak ngobrol nggak selesai gitu.
Oke. Kalau Valen gimana?
Sebenarnya sama sih morals kayak gitu sih. Like Adrian said, like I'm very conservative, right? Jadi kalau misalnya sebenarnya both itu kan very conservative ataupun agresif itu is a good thing or a bad thing, right? Like it could be both lah. Maksudnya if we both are very conservative, then nothing's gonna get done karena kita sama-sama nggak berani maju. Jadi emang kita biasanya emang ya bukan berantem lah, lebih kayak apa? Ya discussion sampai kita ketemu titik tengahnya. Gimana cara untuk kita misalnya mendapatkan satu something yang harus pursue itu apakah harus dikejar atau harus slow down ataupun cari alternatif lain karena kalau enggak ya in one way or another kita emang harus cari opportunity yang bisa kita kejar tapi in a way kita juga nggak bisa take every kind of opportunity untuk dikejar juga mungkin begitu ya.
Oke.
Biasanya kalau kepalanya udah panas kita we have a common food yang kita pergi.
There you go.
Udon. Gue lupa namanya udon apa yang kita selalu pergi itu. Saking lamanya kita nggak ke mall.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Ya kita ada satu common food yang dekat itu ya kita ke sana udah makan mie gitu kayak ada satu tempat yang memang kita berdua have the same taste ya. Kita kalau mau resolve ya ke sana udah. Jadi cool down dulu terus ngobrol sambil makan biasanya malah ketemu.
Biasanya
everything.
Biasanya konfliknya ini in terms of apa nih? Dari sisi arah perusahaan atau ada project ambil atau enggak atau bagaimana? Hampir semua.
Sebenarnya lagi ke arah itu ya decision business related ya. Kalau misalnya outside business sih kalau sama personal life sih sebenarnya nggak ada no issue sih. Aneh juga kalau kita berantem soalnya our wives know each other also. So ya. Jadi emang lebih kayak business decision sih sebenarnya.
Atau mungkin in terms of fundraising atau
fundraising nggak terlalu ya. For us kalau in terms of fundraising we trust each other. We have our own roles. Kalau di fundraising part basically I split on the fundraising mostly I split. Kalau di technical DD apa semua I leave it up to Valen Situtinus. And then on the business side I'm on the outlook sama apa ya we go over it on everything. But most of the time ya kita kita tahu we understand each other karena kalau future kedepannya sih kita nggak pernah hampir jarang ya kita kalau argue di situ lebih banyak tuh arguenya di apa ya kayak bukan short term goals tapi arguenya tuh lebih ke arah we have a common goal in the front tapi how to execute it yang agak beda. The way we approach a problem or the way we approach a solution or something yang kita mau di depan goalnya kita sama, tapi approach-nya beda ya kayak I'm a Democrat dia Republican kayak gitulah. Jadi sama gitu loh.
Ya kita juga coba itu sih. Jadi misalnya lebih kayak tadi kayak fundraising ataupun business related kita mungkin lebih kayak Adrian yang decide meskipun technical dan sebagainya it's like lebih operational technical lebih ke my decision. Tapi in the end bukannya artinya I get like kita bisa ngambil keputusan sendiri juga. Jadi emang kita ngambil jadi opinion dari misalnya for technical and operation I take Adrian's opinion very seriously. Jadi dia kalau misalnya ada apa-apa juga dia bakal question me lah basically. And the same thing on the other side jadinya. Jadi emang make sure dia sebelum make decision itu he thinks correctly gitu lah mungkin.
Sama.
So in a way banyak yang opini akan create more a better judgment ya. Okay.
Karena you can't really please everyone, right? Jadi emang at some point you have to make a decision to do something dan itu gunanya feedback yang ada with that.
Okay. So next question relates to this previous question. So what do you like and hate the most about your partner? Let's start with Valen.
Aduh, that's a tough question. Sometimes he's being too optimistic or aggressive, like aggressive or optimistic. Like mungkin yang ini bukan business related lah ya, tapi pertama-tama pada saat kita kena COVID, semuanya di Indonesia kena COVID gitu, kan kita harus work from home. he was like, okay, 2 weeks, 1 month kita bisa balik lah ke office lah. I was like, no way, man. Cina aja 3 bulan gitu. There's no way we can come back in 2 weeks, man. Paling sedikit 6 bulan dan kita sekarang udah di bulan ke-8. Mungkin di situ ya.
Masih work from home.
I still work from home. Masih
that's the conservative part of him. Dia masih work from home. I'm aware about all about already, tapi dia masih work from home.
Cuman ya emang itu it's not a good thing. I mean it's not really a bad thing, it's not really a good thing. It's just like one way to see things lah basically.
Yeah.
So
and what do you like about your partner?
Well, both of it. Like if he's not aggressive enough, well, some of the decision we probably not gonna take.
Okay.
Itu. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, kalau Adir?
Ya mirip ya, kayak trying to convince him tuh sometimes dia ada aja cara jawabnya tuh loh, kayak dia habis ngomong apa, kayak aku nggak siap gitu loh. I wasn't ready for him to answer that. I have all the scenarios in my head, kalau dia jawab ini, gue mau jawab ini, and then dia jawab yang kalau kayak damn it, sorry. kayak gitu. So yeah, which is good. He's looking at the rear view mirror for me gitu loh, which is good. Yeah, I think that's one of the good thing yang having a partner yang bisa ngomong kayak ya karena kita udah tahu lama ya we can open up karena some of the things yang there's a few decisions, apalagi dulu ya waktu dulu sebelum Sony Boom kan there's some of the decisions ya kayak ada involve sama kayak I can talk to, it relates lah kadang-kadang kalau ngambil project orang itu kan it relates ini dan ada personal life-nya relate juga. I can talk to him gitu loh karena ya sama udah ngerti, pada kenal semua, family udah pada kenal semua, I can relate. Kalau co-founder yang lain kayak dulu sih kita nggak bisa, we cannot be as open. Itu that's the positive side sih.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's positive though. Like I mean kalau misalnya he says yes to everything I say, then the company probably will die years ago gitu maksudnya. Jadi emang I think founders itu perlu ada bukan cekcok ya, lebih kayak apa ya namanya ya, opinion yang membantu lah, apa sih, what's the word for it? I don't think.
Constructive.
Constructive opinion. There you go. Ya, karena kalau enggak ya kita will sama aja, nggak ada co-founder, sama aja jalan semua sendiri.
Oke. Nah kalau dalam arahnya perusahaan sendiri kan ada beberapa use cases ya yang kalian jual ya dalam produk Sony Boom.
Ya.
Penentuan use cases ini siapa yang nentuin nih? Kan awalnya untuk apa, terus berkembang. Ini ide siapa nih?
Itu sama-sama sebenarnya. Jadi kita ada pool, kita mau use casesnya kayak gimana, kita decide yang mana yang kita menurut kita paling diperlukan saat ini untuk di market.
Tapi waktu awal, what was your first use case? Dan apakah itu good judgment atau mungkin yang the industrial?
It was needed, tapi at that point, tapi like Adrian said, infrastrukturnya nggak menunjang karena ya misalnya ada satu gedung, ada 10 speakers, kemungkinan yang dari kita punya experience yang nyala sebenarnya itu cuma 4 atau 5. Jadi itu sebenarnya nggak bisa dipakai untuk ya infrastrukturnya tidak menunjang the technology basically. That's why we actually create our own IoT.
Ya, okay. Nah, kalau needed ya. For us, it's the lowest hanging fruit. Until today, it's still lowest hanging fruit karena it doesn't involve a lot of kayak retail itu it doesn't involve, kalau the risk is very low. Kalau even though we messed up itu, the risk is very low. It's just the problem with ya kena again COVID, it changes the whole game intinya begitu, which is now even the industry itself suffering sampai hari ini. So basically we were growing very quick, very very healthy, and then COVID happens and it just changed the whole game aja, lebih ke sana sih.
So what is the new game now for you guys?
We are exploring the whole idea of why we are moving into Worker. The whole idea is we are trying to apply the same technology karena I know it takes a lot of effort and time untuk create for Valen and the team to create this whole IoT and mobility. The whole idea we try to stick as minor changes as possible supaya at the end of the day nggak ya kita we're not creating a whole new line, a whole new brand, a whole new product. Karena I'm an engineer itself, I know how kayak ngeselin banget kalau tiba-tiba dari atasan ngomongnya pindah ganti gini. I know how it feels. And then that's why we are looking into during the waktu pertama kali lockdown, we're looking into something yang what can we apply this technology into, and what industry yang sampai hari ini masih jalan lah minimal, nggak even though nggak growing tapi minimal masih jalan. That's where we're looking into which is manufacturing, pabrik masih tetap jalan karena online shop jalan, semua jalan, trading masih jalan. That's what we're looking. Okay, what can we do with them? And then we start. Luckily waktu itu we have a few use cases yang dipropose sama some of our clients, which is I have a factory ini, I'm having problem with my workers. Can you do the same thing with that? Itu and that inventory itu kan kita tutup karena kita bilang nggak bisa. We are focusing on retail karena waktu itu kita growing lagi bagus. Nanti dulu deh. At the end of the day, waktu that COVID happen, everything stops, even more stops. And then kita kayak waduh mati. And then that's that box yang all the inputs kita mulai buka. Like I mean, what kind of iteration yang memang bisa applicable now, yang nggak perlu that doesn't need a lot of changes in the technology. Karena for me, I can say mau kesini gampang, but then for Valentinus dia bisa nggak tidur gitu loh, he'll kill me gitu loh, he will come to my house and kill me gitu kayak casinos where I live kan. So that's where kayak okay, how can we balance this decision, lebih ke sana sih. So that's where the idea starting. Sampai kita akhirnya start looking into worker.
Oke. Paling ada additional input?
Enggak sih, emang itu jadi emang pertama-tama kita fokusnya lebih ke retail at some point ya, like Adrian said, kita emang ada dari orang request untuk dicoba ke factory-nya dia, dan sebenarnya momennya itu one month before COVID happened. So jadi emang lumayan bisa dibilang perfect juga ya momennya ya. Jadi pada saat itu kita lagi udah stress kayak oh my god, like what happens to COVID? I mean, what happens to the retail now that COVID? What happened to our business? Karena tiba-tiba masih ada, kemarin kan ada yang minta untuk factory, jadi emang ada opportunity di sana. Jadi emang pas sekali.
Okay. Next question from Arya.
Okay, so next question. What are the ups and downs for founding a company?
We have our wives are hanging out satu arisan. Our kids are 2 weeks and 2 months apart both each. Jadi gak janjian ya by the way ya, but then that's how it happens. But the problem is when we have a problem, the wives know. So that's the ups and downs for us. Jadi so the problem is not just 2 of us, jadinya it becomes the whole family of us gitu loh. And I'm talking to him and the wives are talking juga gitu loh. So itu sih itu ya untuk dengerin dari sisi sana sini juga lumayan juga. So that's the downside.
Jadi emang bukan ups and down ya. Kalau for me itu as long as kita jangan campurin personal life sama company kali ya. Karena kan we're like at the beginning kita juga we're friends. Jadi just we trying to keep it that way basically.
Right.
Kalau misalnya ada problem ya we solve it as like company problem ya we solve it in a company. Nggak usah dibawa ke personal life. Jadi ya tetap hang out dan sebagainya.
Kita habis berantem, habis itu betul wife bisa hang out arisan, kita ngikut and we kita kayak friends balik gitu loh. Nggak sampai ke bawah dari conversation tuh So and then balik ke office ya balik itu lagi. Even though the day after atau 2 days after ketemu lagi di office, itu lagi cekcok lagi kayak
baik. Itu be continue gitu ya, to be
continue. Begitu kita udah selesai, and then back ya kita sama-sama suka boba, sama-sama suka itu ya kita ya udahlah ya udah no personal feelings involved. Itu that's a good thing yang bisa that I can me and Valentinus bisa sama-sama good at that, itu to separate the personal feelings nih. Kayak ya udah this is business. Then let's do it as a business and let's fight in a business setting. Kalau memang udah by family ya udah nggak usah sakit hati, karena it's not something to do with the family, nothing to do with the business. Itu sih yang both of us yang actually at least bisa lah kita lakuin kayak gitu. So that's why so far ya kita masih hihi gitu. Meskipun di kantor begitu nyampe kantor udah kayak aduh ini lagi deh kita bakal ngobrol lagi.
Would you say that during this journey as a startup founder, there have been times when you feel lonely? Karena lonely gimana ya? Lonely-nya karena ya you just cannot share things with others.
For me ada. It's quite real. Especially there are things yang I cannot share at there's some things yang at that stage gue masih nggak bisa share sama Tinus in the business side karena I'm trying to put it karena I know his reaction what will be. That's why because I kinda know dia bakal ngomong apa and I kinda know his reaction tuh bakal kayak gimana. Dia bakalan teriak kayak gimana atau panik kayak gimana. Lu gila ya kayak I know that is gonna say that gitu loh. So before he says that I'm there are times yang I have to think of it my own and ask for kayak nyari-nyari ya as other opinions untuk to break the news or to apa ya kayak ya to know that ini this is something yang bisa tolerable for him. Kayak bukan for him ya kayak maksudnya there's something yang gue nggak harus share sekarang. I'm going to share it for sure, but not now. That's how I look at it.
Kalau gitu I'm the honest one karena I don't have anything like that.
Oh yeah, he doesn't. Dia langsung. He's gonna call me and I'm still blabbering. I know.
Oke, tapi
nothing from me sih basically.
Berarti buat Adian lebih ke arah karena mau biar nggak panik kan ya, lebih biar orang nggak panik gitu kan.
Bukan nggak panik. Unnecessary discussion. For me, it's things yang it's not the time yet untuk dibawa to the table yet, to the side of the table. Karena memang kita respect our own work. Dia di technical, I'm in di sini we respect our work. Kalau memang ada things yang even good news or bad news, there are things yang gue nggak langsung share. I need to wait a time karena bukan proses ya, lebih ke arah I have to make sure that I can go. I know that apa yang what I have.
This internet sucks.
Ini untung
nggak hujan. Digest properly lah, kayak gitulah.
Barusan kepotong bro.
Oh sorry. Kalau nggak sampai kalau if I don't do certain things, even do a good or a bad decision, kayak misalnya good decision, dapat proyek gini atau dapat we got sales. A big account gitu, misalnya I have to make sure that the big account came through sampai a certain point, baru I break the news. Kalau enggak, dia akan kayak wah gitu, and then abis itu nggak jadi, and then kayak and then kayak wah, something nggak enakan atau bukan nggak enakan lah, kayak it's not, so it's kadang-kadang it's not the time yet gitu. Nah, that moments are lonely kadang-kadang most of the time.
I see. Tapi kalau Valen nggak ada ya? Nggak ada
no, I'm happy go lucky guy. It's like, yay, project.
That's right.
Okay. Nah, back to some of the technical stuff ya. Kan kalian tadinya dari yang benar-benar pure sound wave ya, dibilangnya ya. Pure sound wave. Sekarang pakai IoT yang utilizing a lot of the existing technologies gitu ya. Kalau dulu waktu you're using the sound wave itu, you guys patented, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like your own proprietary technology gitu.
Yeah,
right.
Was the decision untuk tadi yang pindah jadi langsung kayak pakai yang lain ini, do you guys consider that as a pivot?
Yes and no. Yang menurut kita yang pivot itu malah yang ke worker. Kalau dari kita yang untuk IoT itu it's not a pivot karena objektifnya are still the same. What for us, which is we try to deliver a message in the proximity way and we try to make sure that we understand behavior. Basically the problem is there, the data is there. It's just the way we collect. The way to collect is going to be different aja. The way we look at it sih kayak gitu. So pivot is not really. It's just in the client's eyes, I want to know what's going. I want to know my visitors' behavior. That's on the client side. I don't care what you use. Initially kita being very naive and very idealistic ya, harus pakai sound is the best way to do it. Me and Valen awal-awal juga gitu, but selama-lama juga ya, kalau if we can get it from the different way, why not? Anyway, infrastrukturnya juga it's udah bapuk juga infrastrukturnya, so why not? And might as well we have the opportunity to put devices in, masukin sekalian yang apapun yang kita perlu. We get more data and more accurate anyway gitu loh, atau more better data lah, richer data. Kalau kita pakai different type of wave ya, why not? Any radio frequency yang kita bisa dompleng ya masukin aja. Size-nya kan dimasukin ke ceiling. That's our thought process ya, size-nya dimasukin ke ceiling. Mau masuk ke ceiling 10 cm sama 5 cm atau 7 cm, doesn't matter. Kan nggak kelihatan juga gitu loh.
They only care about the result basically.
Yeah, they only care about the result. So ya might as well masukin semua. Gitu.
Tapi was the decision tough for you guys? Because you said you were being naive that you has to use this because this is the best technology gitu kan?
Yeah.
Was it tough?
Not for me. I don't know for Valen ya.
Basically at that point juga kita udah merasa kita coba di beberapa tempat dan it's not the infrastructure from one place only. Jadi emang dari beberapa ya kita coba di 5 tempat, dari 5 tempat kita coba di 10 tempat, dari 10 tempat. I can remember like how many places we actually tried. Cuman at that point kita I think that was the right move because if we actually try to focus on the sound itself, we might not go anywhere. While right after we actually put it in the form of IoT, we actually getting like a lot of some clients already, like a few clients right away, like as soon as the IoT was done. So jadi emang I thought it was a right decision to do so.
Okay. Nah kalau yang about yang the solution for workers, can you just elaborate more about it?
Oh yeah, on the worker it's quite simple. The problem existing adalah we're talking a lot about the informal ya, the type of blue collars, itu yang kita target. For them, mereka kalau kerja they never effective karena nggak bisa dipecat. The whole Depnaker punya law and omnibus law juga sama, which is nggak bisa dipecat seenaknya juga gitu loh. So those people are the one that kalau kerja ngasal kayak you cannot fire me, so I work however I want it gitu loh. I don't have to be here and nothing can be done. Even the SP pun it doesn't justify the SP. So they are having a lot of owners are having a lot of difficulties to kayak contain them, bukan contain lah, kayak to make sure to ensure that they are productive. So that's the whole problem that we see. And then since we are looking at the movement on the visitor waktu di mall, ya kalau kita apply di sana, ya kita bisa ngelihat mereka punya. So we can start looking into their data of how they move and how they behave kalau lagi kerja. Ya kayak jadi polisi sedikit lah. At the end of the day, we know who is productive and who is not. Per person kita bisa tahu. So at the end of the day, that helps a lot for the productivity side. Mereka it helps like, I can see that I don't need this many people, or maybe I need to place this station kekurangan underpowered kayak gitu. So those are the data that we're looking for sih.
Udah ada kayak hasil yang lebih konkretnya nggak di your client yang factories ini?
Ada one of the client yang kita mulai awal-awal itu mereka ternyata their effective work itu cuma 65 to 70%. Itu yang kita lihat.
Productivity-nya?
Ya, bukan. Basically mereka di areanya mereka not in the area lah basically.
Oh, oke. Jadi
yang seharusnya di dalam mereka keluar.
Seharusnya di station ini malah tadi bilang 60% atau 70%?
Mereka cuma
di tempat lain, misalnya rokok
efektifnya di sana.
Ataupun ke depan.
Jadi kayak about 30-40% mereka di tempat lain gitu.
They're gone ya basically.
Yeah.
Gitu.
Dan
tapi
itu udah mulai terbaca juga.
Ya, tapi problemnya the problem is mereka akhirnya ketahuan juga kan. It becomes resistance di dalam. Which is mereka cari alasan kayak kalau nggak mau pakai. at the end of the day. Jadi kayak ya cari alasan supaya nggak mau pakai lah. So this is something that we are another problem for us yang we're trying to solve. Yeah, we have a few solution for that memang, but we cannot announce it yet. Gitu.
So
tapi ya the problem ya resistance dari segi workernya sendiri tuh resistance.
Mereka yang udah enak-enak tiba-tiba ketahuan nggak kerja, jadi ya mereka kan pasti ada sedikit resistance dari mereka sendiri lah.
I see.
Karena saat ini kita belum di-enforce dari atas langsung, itu problemnya. Jadi belum. Maksudnya kan biasanya kalau owner sendiri kan biasanya nggak hands on ya, lebih kayak dari sisi departemen HR-nya ataupun operationalnya dan sebagainya. Jadi merekanya emang belum ketok palu di sananya. Jadi workernya masih kayak udahlah nggak mau pakainya yang ini aja, pakai fingerprint aja atau bagaimana.
Balik lagi ke fingerprint kan, atau apa?
Iya.
Nah kalau misalnya ada satu pabrik mau nyoba gitu, how much will it cost? Or ini something yang nggak bisa di-share di sini?
Itu the pricing wise itu for us sekarang kita lagi revamp dikit. Publicly we are looking at the per head 20.000 per kepala. Tapi we have a new pricing coming up to make it bukan easier tapi to make it fair untuk mereka, karena ternyata di lapangan nggak semua orang butuh di track. There are certain things, jadi kayak nggak make sense untuk for our cost to deploy something yang harganya cuma 20.000 kalau nggak semua. So we are introducing a new pricing yang lebih fair lah. That's what we are working on right now. Tapi as of now itu 20.000 per kepala.
Ya tapi kalau misalnya let's say ada satu pabrik gitu bilang saya mau coba dulu 2-3 bulan gitu. Is that possible?
Ada, kita lagi trial sama salah satu yang trialnya 2 bulan. Lagi trial. Dan itu limited, jadi kita nggak mau spend a lot of resources untuk masangin buat mereka. Jadi ya taruh di meja aja atau plug and play, very easily plug and play. Tapi ada yang lagi coba trial 2 bulan. Tapi ya with the bukan di promise, karena mereka memang punya capacity, punya workers gede sekali. Jadi makanya 2 months are okay. Karena begitu we got account itu is very big account.
Dengan adanya COVID gini, ada impact nggak terhadap pabrik-pabrik itu dari based on your data?
Ya, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
So cluster itu cuma on the news. Basically, it's business as usual.
Mati lagi.
Aduh, sorry. Ya, dari mana? Dari berita cluster baru apa segala. It basically in reality it's a business as usual.
Tapi waktu awal kan tetap dong ada yang I think the first 2 months itu yang a lot of shutdown kan ya, factories itu kan. Tapi other than those first 2 months,
saat ini sih POC tetap jalan semua lah, sesuai plan, nggak ada isu aneh. Nggak ada yang di stop, nggak ada yang apa.
Nggak ada yang COVID solution, it's just a jargon for them. Most likely not everyone, tapi majority kayak we want COVID, ada COVID measures apa, but at the end of the day juga nggak enforce kok.
Kalau misalnya udah dipasang gitu ya di pabriknya, can you then kayak itu apanya contact tracing gitu inside the factory?
Ya, bisa.
Yes.
So jadi misalnya kayak ini misalnya hari Senin gitu, tahu-tahu ada berita satu orangnya itu sakit dan ternyata punya COVID gitu. Mau di trace back dia ketemu siapa aja within 1 meter dengan siapa gitu bisa tuh.
Bukan 1 meter, kita ngelihatnya per area. Basically the whole kita pasang di area satu tempat kayak satu pabrik. Trace dia satu area selama the past 1 week or 2 weeks, kita bisa tahu checkpoint mereka dia di mana aja. And then the people in the area at the same time itu kita bisa tahu, kita bisa keluarin.
Oke, lebih ke arah in that specific area siapa aja yang ada itu kemungkinan itu bisa, tapi kalau untuk sampai siapa yang sampai kontak 1 meter 1 meter gitu nggak bisa ya.
1 meter bisa, tapi itu semua balik lagi ke jumlah IoT yang mereka ambil karena itu semua balik lagi ke triangulation.
Triangulate-nya ya.
Right. Ya kalau mereka mau sedetail itu ya bisa, tapi ya mungkin kemungkinan kalau misalnya mereka mau sampai 1 meter ya setiap berapa 20 meteran kita butuh satu IoT. Or at least ada kotak lah 4 di corner.
Ya. Masih make sense.
Jadi kalau misalnya mereka nggak mau kayak gitu, biasanya kan mereka mau mencoba dulu dan sebagainya. Paling tak pasang satu di per area, jadi sebagai checkpoint gitu. Jadi yang tadi ada yang bilang. Jadi kalau sebagai checkpoint ya kita cuma tahu sebatas ya mereka ada di daerah situ. Maksudnya mereka pernah ke kitchen area dan mereka juga pernah ke working area. Di kitchen area jam 2 siang, ya.
Kita tarik timestamp-nya mereka sama position mereka at a certain place, terus di aggregate ke siapapun yang ada di situ on the same time, on the same day.
But your software can do triangulate juga ya?
Bisa.
Bisa.
So the device to device itu bisa ngobrol. Our IoT itu within device bisa ngobrol. So that jadi ya they can triangulate dynamically. Mau sama siapa tuh mereka triangulate. Kita bisa setting.
Right.
Iya. Alatnya masih sama kan yang waktu yang kita ketemu di restoran itu?
Sama.
Iya. Sama.
Oke.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question is from Ardi.
Oke. Ini mungkin kita ke yang advice dulu ya. Nanti baru yang key takeaway baru terakhir. Can you give advice to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those who are thinking of working with their best friend? Let's start with Adrian.
Kalau for me ya, try to split antara personal sama business properly. Jangan baper lah, the way we look at it, untuk supaya bisa ongoing ya. Karena kalau baper dari awal kafe mah kita udah nggak berteman. Karena there's so many problems di cafeteria itu kita if we start blaming each other and ke bawah terus itu by now there won't be any software house, there won't be any Sonic Boom juga karena kita udah karena most of the problems itu yang ada di situ malahan. So I think try to separate try to be professionals while working, and then kalau memang enggak, and then when not ya udah try to itulah. I think that's for me ya.
Sebenarnya sih mirip-mirip lah ya kalau dari saya ya. Basically dari yang tadi Sherin bilang jangan baper gitu. Emang perjalanan startup itu nggak gampang. Jadi emang pasti ada ups, pasti ada down. Dan pada saat down itu just think clearly lah. Don't fight with your co-founders just because your company is not doing well. I mean, if it's doing well, then everyone's happy. Like you're not gonna fight with your co-founders. Tapi itu pun pasti ada kesulitan yang nggak kelihatan lah. Jadi just be professional, I guess, and make sure you don't lose your friendship just because your company is doing not as good as you think. Karena emang perjalanannya bakal naik turun.
Tapi mau nanya nih, mungkin ada related to this question. Dengan build this company with your best friend, do you think it's is more powerful?
I don't think so. Jadi I think not every best friend can make companies together. Malah sometimes if you some friends kalau emang itu jangan ada beberapa orang ngomong lah ya, basically kalau kepengen temenan sama someone jangan bikin company sama-sama. Jadi sebenarnya mungkin ada bukan plus minus, jadi lebih kayak make sure kalau misalnya mau bikin sama-sama dengan your friends itu make sure di depan udah ngomong bahwa jangan bring personal thing, business thing to your personal life karena itu akan break your friendship, I think. And make sure their wives knows as well, because kalau enggak ya.
Oh yeah, that's a big role. That's a big role. Family it's a big role, basically. Karena there are times yang memang kalau lagi kesel nggak ketolong, kadang-kadang to make it a personal thing nggak ketolong ya the role of the role of my wife ya itu untuk nyadarin bahwa well things happen.
Ya.
Ya gitu.
Oke. Thank you.
Jadi itu emang nggak bisa kalau jadi jawabannya emang nggak bisa bilang juga ya, emang tergantung cocok-cocokan juga. Nggak bisa semua friend jadi business partner juga, tapi ada juga yang bisa.
Jadi lebih kayak watch out, you have to know the risks.
Right.
But if you decide to do it, then let's follow that what you mentioned, right?
Yeah. Make sure you know where you're getting into and make sure you actually set rules in front, I guess.
Right.
Meskipun kita juga hoki aja sih sebenarnya.
Yeah, I don't think it's I'm starting to realize the more I go, the more I talk to people, nyari co-founder tuh nggak it's not as that easy. We had it easy lah. It's not that.
You just got lucky, I guess.
We just got lucky, I guess. Karena banyak yang kayak perkara sepele aja udah bisa sampai kayak gimana gitu loh. And then waktu dia nanya kita kayak we're okay with that kayak gitu. So I think we just got lucky. So I think it's a lot to do with luck lah, stars align lah, lebih ke sana sih.
Good to know, bro. Okay, Ardi.
Okay, so last question. Ini jawabnya sendiri-sendiri ya. What is the key takeaway in being a startup founder? Let's start with.
Let me think first.
Oh.
Let me think first.
What is the key takeaway being a startup founder?
Ini dipikirin dulu yang matang dulu karena ya ini nanti kita akan post your answer.
Okay. So I think the key takeaway is be flexible ya. Karena whatever that you are thinking in your business plan itu there's a lot of things yang nggak going as you plan and jangan kayak kita awal-awal juga naif, must be sound gitu loh. I think we learn the lesson bahwa be open, bahwa your object, if you try to solve something, the problem is still there. This will always be there, and there is always a lot of ways to solve it. And then don't stick to ya kayak kalau kita untung nggak kelamaan gitu loh. Awalnya kita stick to sound only, nggak akan kemana-mana. So I think the problem is still there, and find a solution. Bukan jangan kaku-kaku lah. I think that's the takeaway from me ya. So I'm open to bukan lately kayak jalan after the journey ya kita bisa ngelakuin itu di software house. Basically kalau some klien punya problem, kita mau cari semuanya untuk bisa solve the problem of the client. Tapi begitu kita punya baby sendiri, which is the sound, kita punya baby sendiri, kenapa kok kita mindset kita jadi berubah gitu loh. That's the realization yang that aha moment that happened to me. Basically, why am I doing this to myself? Which is yang I wasn't doing this before. Kayak gitu. Karena kita kalau di klien ya software klien di urusan dia lah kan, habis kita handover selesai gitu kan. Kalau ini kan kita sampai jam 12, jam 1 malam. Ya mati lagi. Sampai jam 1 malam masih terus coding. Waktu itu anaknya kita masih 2 masih kecil, kita coding bareng sampai jam 2 pagi. Ya, this is my baby. Kenapa kok kita jadi kayak gini? Looking at a problem, try to solve it. I think that's I think for me the takeaway ya bukan be flexible tapi focus on what can you do but not how to solve your problem lah. Gitu sih.
Oke. Valen?
Jadi for me, I guess mungkin agak bisa dibilang se-align, tapi mungkin juga agak nggak align sedikit ya. Jadi basically, for me itu basically if you have a product, you have to believe in your product. That's number one. And kalau misalnya if you don't believe in your product, if you yourself don't believe in your product, itu nggak bakal jalan. Apakah produk itu tadi berupa yang kita punya sebagai contohnya sebagai sound ataupun IoT. Jadi pertama kita harus tahu dulu bahwa itu emang bisa menyelesaikan suatu problem. Yang kedua, itu it's not as easy as it sounds. Jadinya meskipun itu problem dari someone, you just have to believe yourself and you just have to keep pushing yourself. You just have to keep pushing forward. Karena it's not like I have this problem, someone's just gonna use it right away. Contohnya mungkin apa ya? Ya paling gampang telepon lah ya, smartphone. Dulu smartphone keluar 2007 iPhone. Itu dipakai di Indonesia baru 2015 karena BlackBerry mati. Kalau enggak mungkin nggak ada pindah juga. Jadi emang kalau misalnya dulu Android ataupun iPhone nggak masuk ke Indonesia terus, itu nggak bakal kepake saat ini. Mungkin BlackBerry terus. Cuman karena mereka terus-terusan push, at some point itu pakai. Tapi aside of that juga harus make sure bahwa problem itu ada, bukan cuma asal push produk tanpa ada apa kebutuhan.
Tanpa ada yang mau bayar ya?
Iya, benar.
Oke.
Ya.
Any additional questions from Arya? Atau ada question dari udah nggak ada ya?
Nat, ada questions dari Cakap atau dari YouTube?
So far belum ada.
Oke. Kalau nggak ada, let's wrap it up. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Valen, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. We learn a lot from you guys. Mungkin jarang ya yang co-founders yang tadinya best friend jadi co-founders itu. So definitely there are a lot of insights to everyone here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Mungkin kalau boleh disimpulkan ya. Ya kalian mungkin maybe lucky, tapi mungkin kalau kita lihat mungkin lebih ke ada effort ya. You have effort to get it going. It's not just luck. Jadi memang
effort itu kan harus untuk anything we do. Kalau nggak ada effort, I don't think anything will. I mean, you'll get it.
Yeah, but some people just give up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you again, dan thank you semua yang sudah hadir lewat Zoom, YouTube, dan Cakap juga.